Guys, coming into last night's fight, Anderson Silva versus Uriah Hall, the speculation across the MMA community was that, of course, this is going to be Anderson Silva's last UFC fight ever. Final farewell to all his fans, his UFC family, how he calls it. Guys, I got to say, dates kind of elude me sometimes as, time slips by. I didn't realize Anderson back in April had turned 45 years old. And that, that makes him, the oldest fighter on the roster by a good bit. Second being one of my favorite guys, Alexei Oleinik. But, yeah, he's 45, guys. He made his debut in 2006. I was in 6th grade then. And he, went on to put together arguably the most impressive UFC resume of all time, turning in 10 title defenses, 11 if you count Travis Lutter. Travis missed weight. But, I think like 7 knockout of the year, multiple bonuses, longest ever title run in the UFC. And when he lost his title to Chris Weidman in 2013, I kind of, I predicted that Chris Weidman was going to be the one to dethrone him, even though Anderson was, I believe, a 3-1. If I was wrong, he was a 2.5-1 favorite going into that bout. And after that, I thought Anderson was going to retire shortly thereafter, especially after losing the rematch to Chris Weidman and having the injury that he did to his leg. And, I kind of thought he was going to be done. And rightfully so. I mean, hell, you go back 7 years ago, he was 38, and that's, especially for that time, was considered, time to go for many fighters. But, Anderson kept trucking, and, he fought last night. And if you notice the play on words going into this thing, it was always, this is my last UFC fight. Not his last MMA fight, his last UFC fight. And I got some inside information, a couple people talked to, Anderson's coach, and, Anderson doesn't want to be done fighting. He says that, he still has pep in his step. He still likes getting in the gym every day. This is his livelihood, and, he isn't ready to quit. He doesn't care that he's 45 years old. And, he goes in with this bout against, Elijah Hall, who, looked at Anderson as an idol, obviously. And I gave the first 2 rounds to Anderson. I think a lot of that had to do with Elijah Hall being gun shy and not putting his punches together, not wanting to come forward. But, guys, after that first round, Anderson landed some good shots, and I think the second round was close, but I think he took the second round. There for a minute, I started getting a little nostalgia, like, oh shit, we got a little bit of the spider in here. And, Elijah Hall is, he's no slacker. He's ranked 10th in the world. He's an Ultimate Fighter winner. He's one of the best in the world, to not take anything away from him. And, regardless of if Anderson won those first 2 rounds off of him being gun shy or not, I mean, to be 45 years old and to go out there against the number 10 ranked contender that's 10 years younger than you and win 2 rounds, I mean, that's not too shabby of a performance. And he said in his interview afterwards to Michael Bisping, he said, or Bisping asked him after he said farewell to his UFC family, was how he phrased it. So can we confirm it here? Is this your last time, participating in a mixed martial arts event as a fighter. Anderson kind of dropped his head and laughed a little bit and said, I don't know. And guys, from what I've been able to gather and what I know about the sport and what I know about the landscape and the money that, could be made from Anderson elsewhere. And by the way, Dana White is dead set on Anderson not fighting in the UFC. Like, there's no doubt about it. Anderson's done in the UFC. Dana didn't want him to go out there and do that fight against Elijah. Dana doesn't, he doesn't want that in his promotion. He doesn't want to see a 46-year-old legend, out there fighting and potentially getting injured bad. He even said in the press conference afterwards, the only time a 46-year-old should be fighting is if he's trying to save his family's life. So Anderson's for sure gone from the UFC. But there's a certain other promotion that, that likes to get guys like Fedor Emelianenko and guys like Chael Sonnen and Tito Ortiz and kind of the guys that, aren't good enough to run the UFC anymore, but still have a little bit of fight in them and, still want to do this as a profession. And guys, I think Anderson's going to go to Bellator for a multi-fight contract. I think that, not only can Anderson, I don't believe he can be champion of Bellator. I don't even believe he can beat like the top probably 5 guys in Bellator. But mid-carders in Bellator, yeah. Anderson can still beat a lot of those guys. He can be a huge draw for them. I know the UFC pays him very well still, but with his ability to draw being the name that he is and his willingness to compete, I could see his paydays at Bellator looking just as good, if not better. And, with them being the premier organization outside the UFC, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it right now. I think that in mid to late 2021, we're going to see Anderson Silva fighting in Bellator. And it's just, it's going to be what it is. I mean, a lot of guys are, coming down hard on Anderson right now. Like, the last few years, really, like, dude, why are you still fighting? You have nothing to prove. You've had the most legendary run in the UFC that you could ask for. You're old now, move on. But guys, I think what a lot of people don't understand is fighting is Anderson's everything, like these guys, like they get to be that good. I mean, martial arts is their livelihood from being children up through their whole lives. And, it's kind of hard to tell somebody that's 40 to 45 years old that, hey, yeah, like the one and only skill that you have, the one and only thing that brings you all your fulfillment and makes you all your money, yeah, you're done with that. You're just done. But, yeah, you got like, on average, you'll probably live another 30, 40 years. And that's a lot of time to be retired, guys. That's a lot of time to just sit there. And it's hard for guys to accept that, they're transitioning into that phase of their lives. So, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with guys like Anderson continuing to fight, but I mean, I understand, I just hope that he can do it safely and, not get injured. And I think if he does want to still do it, I think there's some fun matchups we could have over at Bellator. I mean, hell, we could do a 205 super fight, Fedor Emelianenko versus fucking Anderson Silva, get a Masters division going for these guys. But, that's my prediction. I think Anderson is going to Bellator in the near future. Let me know what you guys think.